Although All's Fair might be a disaster, thanks to Monster, the Ed Janes story, it's not the worst new show of 2025. Whenever the worst TV shows of all time are discussed, there is inevitably some room for hyperbole. Critics who are used to slating lesser efforts must dig deep to explain what makes a show uniquely bad. The Guardian awarded Kim Kardashian's woeful new legal drama All's Fair an almost unprecedented 0-star review upon its release, while USA Today dubbed the series the worst TV show of the year. Despite co-starring the likes of Niecy Nash-Betts and Naomi Watts, it seems clear that the Ryan Murphy-produced drama will be remembered primarily for its critical drubbing. However, there's an argument to be made that All's Fair isn't the worst show of the year. In fact, it's not even the worst Ryan Murphy series of 2025. When it comes to dramas that compiled an impressive cast and then wasted them on a disjointed, mid-judged mess of a plot, All's Fair can't hope to compete with one new Netflix title. Monster, the Ed Janes story is worse than All's Fair. Seasons 1 and 2 of Murphy's Monster were already met with their fair share of divided critical opinion. Although 2022's Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story was a massive success for the streaming platform in terms of viewership, the miniseries garnered mixed reviews as some critics questioned the ethics of fictionalizing the murderer's crimes. 2024's Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story was similarly divisive, with its lead performances earning acclaim while its factual inaccuracy, pervasive explicit sex, and lurid tone received criticism. However, 2025's Monster, the Ed Janes story was much, much worse, taking the problems with earlier seasons and amplifying them to an absurd degree. While YouTube creator Medisone carefully catalogued every factual inaccuracy in Monster, the Ed Janes story, veering away from veracity wasn't the show's only crime. Whether it's Laurie Metcalf, Addison Rae, and Charlie Hunnam or Glenn Close, Kim Kardashian, and Naomi Watts, it's fair to say both Monster, the Ed Janes story and All's Fair wasted both showy big names and proven screen talents alike. However, Monster, the Ed Janes story was offensive to everyone involved, whereas All's Fair was at least a harmless piece of campy fiction. While critics might have called All's Fair painful to sit through, there can be no doubt that Monster, the Ed Janes story was far harder for the real-life relatives of those involved in its wildly inaccurate story. Monster, the Ed Janes story's true crime roots make its problems much worse. From portraying Psycho's real-life star, Anthony Perkins, as a disturbed, self-loathing figure to depicting an innocent acquaintance of Ed Jane as an active, sadistic accomplice in his murders, Monster, the Ed Janes story pushed past boundaries of bad taste and into outright misinformation. Inevitably, many viewers would finish the series thinking they had a reasonable understanding of Jane's life and crimes. However, from Monster, the Ed Janes story's version of Jane's voice to its depiction of his relationship with Adeline Watkins, the miniseries could not have been less accurate. Psycho author Robert Bloch didn't consider himself an expert on Jane, the police never approached Jane about capturing Ted Bundy, and Jane may not have even committed 2 of the show's murders. In the series, Jane kills both his older brother and the polio-struck teenager Evelyn Hartley, but Hartley didn't have polio, and Jane almost certainly had nothing to do with her death or the death of his brother. While his crimes were appalling, they were also real events with real victims. As such, fabricating new murders to pad out the show's runtime is at best tasteless and at worst deeply irresponsible. Murphy's Netflix show was promoted as a true crime series, but Monster, the Ed Janes story's depiction of Adeline Watkins and Jane's relationship with his mother both verge on complete fiction. Monster, Season 4 will struggle to be as terrible as the Ed Janes story. Fortunately for Murphy and the rest of the show's creators, Monster Season 4 is unlikely to struggle with the same issues. Since it is a period piece about Lizzie Borden, this miniseries is allowed to be campier and less historically accurate thanks to the far larger distance between the events it depicts and the current day. There are living people impacted by the inaccuracies depicted in Monster, the Ed Janes story, meaning All's Fair could not hope to outdo the damage done by the inaccuracies in the miniseries. All's Fair is a boring, badly acted mess that never manages to rise to the level of enjoyable camp, but never comes close to working as a genuine legal thriller.